And we're live. Well, not live, but
Live
we're here.
enough.
Hold up. Forgot my uniform.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Can't be caught slipping without my uniform on. That's my new job now.
Understood.
All right, so second attempt at the podcast, episode 2 now. Definitely, it's supposed to be a podcast aimed towards people not in crypto that don't really know anything, and either need to or want to be educated on the subject.
My answer is there's always a need for education. It's just how much people are willing to learn.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm here to learn. I'm here to be educated because, in this situation, I am the stupidest man in the room, and I love that idea. Like, I love being the dumbest person in the room because when you're the smartest person in the room, the conversation only goes as far as you know.
Yeah, true.
So,
That's what I've been trying to do. I've been trying to find smarter people than me.
so
Definitely found some when I went to the New York meetup, and hung out at the party. Man, some smart people in that room.
yeah, please make me the stupidest person in the room. I'm ready to be humbled.
All right, so I want to start off do you want to state like a name or anything for audience purposes?
I mean, everybody in the audience, if you know this man, you know me because I'm like the quiet background character. Um, as far as a real name goes, I'm Ian. Most people have multiple different names for me because I am an entity more than a person. But needless to say, find me whenever you see me. You could say hi. Um, as far as like a little bit of history of myself, I'm a cook. I met this genius here in frickin' Job Corps. We spent a lot of time going back and forth in culinary school, and it became a rather fantastical journey so far. And, now that I'm slowly starting to break into my field and you're breaking into this, I feel like it's time for me to sit down with my financial advisor.
Yeah, it seems like I'm going to have to be that guy for a lot of people. It was like I tried to get a lot of people interested enough to learn enough to see this new world of finance, because there's a lot of responsibility tied to it. So it's like I wanted them to have that responsibility, but at the same time I knew that more than likely I'm still going to have to be the custodian of sorts. And when I went to the meetup, I met one guy who said he's managing so many different wallets for people. He's keeping it safe for them. And I was like, I should have been doing that, but at the same time I didn't want that power. It felt like too much to me. It's like holding the Infinity Gauntlet. It's like,
Listen, it only works in the reality that you come from. That's canon.
yeah, yeah, you're right. Um, so I wanted to start with what you know about crypto.
Honestly,
It doesn't matter if it's the most smooth brain shit you could think of. What do you already know about it?
honestly, what I know about it simply is a alternate source of income for me to be able to work out my financial problems. That is simply as far as I know about it. And it's been me trying to get interested in crypto, but I've just never had the self-control to actually do so. So this is my first attempt at making self-control happen.
All right, yeah, yeah. That's some self control is important, and that's one of the things that I learned being just investing in general. It's all self control is the number one thing you need to master, because if you don't have self control, who's controlling you? You know what I mean?
Right.
You gotta control yourself. And Hex is one of those things where it's the ultimate test of self control, because it's if you say you're going to do something, you better do it. And if you don't do it, you get penalized for it. So it's kind of like it's not just a financial system; it's also like the ultimate truth telling machine.
And that's why I think, like, as you go to celebrate your first steak, which is coming up soon, you
Mm-hmm.
know, I plan on putting in on that very day, so that, the next annual steak celebration, I can actually be a part of it with a reason.
Yeah, yeah, I feel it.
And it's one of those things of that is me maturing enough as a person to understand that my financial obligations and responsibilities have to be there.
Yeah,
So,
and there's no better time to start than now. You know, they say what's the best day to invest? The best day was yesterday. What's the second best day right now?
exactly.
You know, so at the end of this, we're gonna do that. I'm gonna give you some free shit, and you'll be able to do your first steak now. But your first
My first
self-funded
individual
steak
steak, it will be
will
set
be,
up on the.
yeah, we'll do a Merry Hexmas party.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
definitely should do a stream like a stream for that. Cause I don't know if anyone else is doing it. So
I mean, why not? We can get all the boys together downstairs and have a Merry Hexmas.
yeah, yeah. All right, that sounds pretty dope. I gotta order some new gear though, just to accommodate. Cause like the only thing I have right now for mics are these arms, and there's nothing downstairs that really clip on. Like,
Oh, we can bring different tables in. I got a table that we can clip onto.
yeah, like so, like yeah, all the shit down there. It's like clipping it with these. Like, plus, I want to order more microphones too,
Yes.
so we can do the like the tournament stuff at Drew's house.
We will make that all
And then
work
we could
out.
all have our own microphone, and it won't sound like craziness. And then we can isolate everybody's voices and the game, level it out properly. We can do like proper video game tournaments.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And then eventually we can do like not AI tournaments but real ones. That's like
That's my plan. So
yeah, I wanna. That's also what I want to do.
so if that's really the idea, I have a couple of people that we can talk to.
Hmm.
Um,
Like I'll sponsor it, I'll fund it, I'll the prize pool,
I got you.
but.
I got you
But
because
since I'm a crazy Hexican, the prize pool is all gonna be hex.
listen, and that will open up so many opportunities for a lot of these young kids who don't know what it is to finally be able to walk through that door too.
Hmm.
And I feel like the FGC, which is where I find my love and my passion a lot of the time, they deserve to understand, like, today's tournament winnings are not going to last you forever.
Hmm.
And there's some people out there that have understood that idea and have marketed themselves in such a way that they can grow beyond just pressing buttons. Like, never will I ever be a button monkey. And some people may take that the wrong way because I'm using the word monkey in a, negative connotation.
Hmm. Be
But
like
when I
that.
say button monkey, I mean, never am I going to be somebody that's just going to press the buttons. That's like saying I'm going to shut up and dribble. I can't be that person. I have to be able to think on a different level beyond just doing what is asked of me. Because if there is nothing beyond what is asked of me, what is my purpose?
Yep. You gotta make your own. You gotta make your own purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, as far as like my passion for the FGC, I do want to build a scene in Pittsburgh
Hmm.
because this city definitely has a lot of infrastructure for the FGC. We just don't have anybody taking it over.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many places that could be used to channel a local talent pool. And like people like Empire Arcadia, like that group, as far as a grassroots FGC company, amazing. The trials and tribulations that those people went through over there, hardship. And they've gone through it and they've come out as being the most winningest team. And that's on paper according to the Guinness Book of World Records.
It's pretty cool. Just for clarity's sake, in the audience, some people might not know what FGC stands for.
That's the fighting game community.
Okay.
So, like, you know, that's the kids that basically get together, play Mortal Kombat, play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you know, anything like that. Anything that involves two players and basically 3D chess.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel it. You know me. The only one I'm really good at is Naruto.
Yeah.
But apparently, I'm also good at Pokken tournament. So
Yeah. Pokken Tournament, Smash Bros. Secret Hidden. But yeah, like, it's just amazing to watch the growth of some of these kids because, like, I've been watching the scene and I've been a part of the scene since the early 2000s. So
it's a long time.
that's 21 years that I've invested into the time zone of just being a part of it. Like, I was technically a part of the fighting game community back in 96, 97 when I'm sitting there playing games at Toys R Us, beating kids for money. Because that was old fighting game community back then, was getting together at local arcades, getting together at Toys R Us to play the newest game, whether or not you had it. And saying, oh yeah, I bet you $5 I'm better than you.
Have you ever been to CMUkin?
I've gone once or twice.
It's the fighting game club at Carnegie Mellon University.
Yeah, I've gone once or twice. I actually do enjoy the scene over there. Like, I thoroughly hope for the best for those guys. It's just one of those things where I think that they're thinking far too small. Because by not making it interscholastic, they've limited themselves a lot. And, like, especially over the last year and a half with everything that's been going on with the virus and lockdowns and things of that nature, you have a lot of people that have gone to the interscholastic level just through online tournaments. But yet and still, CMU has not gone to that next step of being interscholastic.
Interesting. I never knew that about them. Like I would always see them like carrying their gear over to the room, setting up, but that was always working.
Yeah, like
So
they'll invite anybody from, you know, anywhere. But the thing is, if you want to make a team, the idea would be to turn CMU into your dojo
Yeah.
and then say, hey, let's challenge this group over here. Hey, let's challenge this group over here. And make CMU your entire brand if that's what you want to do. Like, you can make a brand out of that, and then you could get the school to sponsor that, and then that takes some of the burden off of yourself. Like, Full Sail University, they do stuff like that all the time. That's how CEO gets sponsored half the time. Like, CEO does a lot of work with Full Sail University and some of their undergrads.
And who is actually CEO?
CEO is CEO Taku. It's a Florida tournament that's held usually every year.
Okay.
It's held by a guy named Jabril. He does fantastic work down in Florida.
Yep. I guess shout out to Jabril.
Yeah, that gentleman does fantastic work. He basically is the reason why FGC down in Florida has continued throughout the pandemic, throughout all that stuff. Also, shout outs to another huge member of the FGC, Tampa Never Sleeps. That man, TNS tournaments have literally held down the online scene since everything has gone to what it is. Like TNS, NYC Furby, freaking, you know, as I've said before, EMP, Triforce, and all the work that he's doing with the young ladies out there, because there's a lot of young ladies that do deserve a fair shake out there that are never going to get that fair shake just because they have ass and tits. And, like, I feel like a lot of these young ladies deserve to be on the same center stage as a Sonic Fox or a Kill Sage. You know, they deserve some of this shine because guys can never get anywhere without females.
Yeah, I'm guessing those names are like top fighters.
Yeah, for sure. Like Sonic Fox is top FGC player in the world right now. He goes across, well, they go across multiple fighting games, Skullgirls, Guilty Gear, Mortal Kombat. He's pretty much, well, they are pretty much a huge player. Excuse me, because the they them thing, I'm not 100% brain centered on that. I just go off of what somebody is. But anyways, Sonic Fox as an individual is probably the biggest inspiration because they have been in the FGC since they were about 12. He's now, well, they are now a grown man. Like a grown individual. And watching the development of somebody like that is inspirational because you see somebody who would have probably been on the streets given any other normal circumstance. Because they had an outlet, they were able to find a community in which to thrive and become themselves and become an individual, and a community that embraced and accepted them for who they are. It's insane. Because the FGC invites all comers. It's not just the manly men who want to sit in their mom's basements and, play video games forever.
Yeah.
It's also the guys who hit the gym every day. It's also the girls who hit the gym every day. It's also, your local football stars, your local track athletes, your local wrestlers even. Some of them are FGC combatants. Heck, even some of your local CEOs and businessmen. There's a gentleman down in St. Martin who is now he's the leader of the parliament down there. He was a huge supporter of the FGC back in the early 2000s.
That's pretty dope.
Part of the reason why he ran for government is because he was promised something by government and wasn't given it. And then he said, you know what? I'm going to change the way that things are run. So now...
That's the way to do it.
So now we have somebody who said, okay, I don't like you in the way you're doing things, but I'm a member of this community and I'll forever be a member of this community. But let me show you what I'm willing to do to make sure that my community thrives. And those are the people that I want to surround myself with. Like, people like that.
Wholesome as fuck. And, there's a lot of people like that in the Hex community, man. Like, I see them online all the time, and after interacting with them, it's like, they don't care who you are, man. They just wanna know that you're good.
Right.
Like, in terms of, like, because, like, crypto, too, is, like, finance in general is, like, typically a man's game. But I would argue that Hex has the most women in all of finance. We're the best,
I feel like it's because of the anonymity behind Hex that it's allowed women to step into
even
it.
more than other cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, but I feel like the anonymity is what's done it is because it doesn't matter who you are behind a keyboard. You know what I mean?
And all the smart people, they eventually find Hex and then they realize, like, okay, this is some goodness.
And that's why I'm interested in, like, the depths of which Hex goes to. And that's why, I'm here for this, because this is an interesting conversation as far as, like, what's going to happen with the future of Hex.
Well, as far as the future goes, like, the history is pretty spotty, because what you'll hear, like, just from everybody, like a random person, like, if you just happen to meet somebody who's in crypto and you say, hey, have you ever heard of Hex? They'll just immediately go, oh, that's a scam. And there's a good reason for it, too. And that's because Hex was marketed in the beginning just like a scam. Because there's this problem in the money-making world, whether it's stocks, real estate, bonds, or crypto. there's always somebody trying to scam somebody. So a lot of people were pretty traumatized in 2017 by one of the most notorious scams. It was called BitConnect.
Yes, I heard about
Have you heard of that?
BitConnect. Yes.
You've seen the memes?
Yes.
Yeah. When that video came out, I was like, oh my God, this is it. Like, this is like, it's fine. This is it. Like I knew it was like, I knew there was a good chance it was a scam. I wasn't going to say 100%, oh, BitConnect's a scam. I was like, some people have made money. That's cool and all. But what they were marketing was like, we have a trading bot. Just like a bot they wrote to go on the market and trade for them. But the thing is, they created their own fake token called BitConnect token. And what you did was you essentially, you traded your Bitcoin for this BitConnect token in equal like value. So if you put $100 of Bitcoin in, you get $100 worth of BitConnect tokens. But then you take your BitConnect tokens and you lend them to the platform, and then they will trade your BitConnect tokens with their bot against Bitcoin, and it's supposed to make money on the ups and downs. The only problem was there was no trading bot. They were just taking people's money and then paying out the older investors with new investors' money.
Oh no.
Yeah. So people were getting, and most of the money came from referrals.
Yeah. So
And it was a classic pyramid referral scheme where I'm making money off of all the people that someone else onboarded. I just onboard 5 people, and then it just trains down, and I'm making millions of dollars while they're making like jack shit. So a lot of people were traumatized by shit like that. But the guy behind Hex, Richard Hart, bless him, he saw how easily people wanted to get scammed, it seemed like. So he's like, all right, what do the scams do? They always get these people with these money. So how do they do it? They promise certain amount of returns. There's usually a referral program, and this, that, and another. So in the beginning, Hex had all of that scam shit. It promised crazy returns because it promised 10,000 x, like a 10,000 fold on your money within 2 years. It did exactly that. It actually did it. Within 2 years, we hit 10,000x. Like 50 something cents, we hit 10,000x, and we've hit that peak, and we're in our own little bear market. We're on our own downtrend. Nobody can, we're not really correlated to any market anymore, because most of the liquidity with Hex is directly tied to the U.S. dollar.
right.
Most other things in crypto are tied to Bitcoin or Ethereum. So if Bitcoin goes up, ETH will go up. But if Bitcoin goes down, Ethereum goes down. And if Ethereum does anything, all the rest of the market follows that. So typically what I've noticed is with Hex is when everything's going up, Hex is going down. But as soon as everything is just going down, Hex just starts going up. And it's done that like a bunch of times since it launched. And it actually surprised me how well the price performance is done. Like, I remember, I was talking to, we had the podcast with John yesterday, and he admitted to me that he didn't take Hex seriously till it was like 8 cents. And meanwhile, on the other side of the screen, we're in Discord, and I'm like, yo, we're at half a cent, yo, I'm celebrating half a penny. And he's like, whatever. Then it hits a penny, and I'm like, yo, bro, we banging this shit, like, we killing it. And I guess he was just like, whatever. And then it hits 8 cents, and he's like, all right, buy.
That's an interesting feel, man. Like,
Yeah.
That's gotta be, rewarding as hell on your part, and then it's gotta be almost as rewarding, but a little bit deflating on his side of it to be like, damn, I waited that long.
Yeah, I mean, like, and it's just funny, the dichotomy, like, I'm celebrating half a cent, and he didn't take it seriously till 8 cents. That's a lot. That's a big price difference.
Yeah, that's a huge gap, and it's just like, oh, well.
Yeah, and then we peak out at like 58 cents.
Right.
And then, and then now everybody, once again, they're all saying, ha, Hex rug pulled, and A rug pull is this term in crypto where basically a scammer creates a token. They provide all the liquidity for that token. So when they scam other people into buying it, their portion of the liquidity starts increasing in value because now they're gaining more Ethereum, and they're basically selling their scam token
Right.
to people, and then once they've got enough Ethereum, they withdraw their liquidity because anyone can do it. Anyone can provide the liquidity and withdraw it whenever they want, especially the creator of that liquidity pool. So he took all the liquidity out. They'll take all the liquidity out, and then no one can trade. No, there's nothing. There's no
Right.
Ethereum there for anyone to sell into. So it's just like that's what they call it, a rug pull. Just pulling the rug out from underneath people. So every time Hex is in like its little mini bear market, everyone goes, I see, told you it's a rug pull. Like I saw a meme. There's this one guy, Peter McCormick. Shout out to that guy. He's a legend because he got absolutely wrecked on a live stream with Richard. There was this meme of him where he was like, Hex is down 75% from its all-time high at 50 cents. I told you not to buy at 0.00005 cents.
Jeez.
And it's like, we're at 13 cents, and that's still expensive to me. But now it's like, it's the buying opportunity for a lot of people. A lot of people think we're going to go below 10 cents. I don't want it to, but a lot of people think we will.
Even if it does, that just means there's a new starting platform for a lot of new individuals that are stepping in.
It just means the prices we thought we'd never see again are now coming back.
Right.
Just like
And
with every other asset, like with Bitcoin. Nobody wanted to buy Bitcoin at $3,000, but they all jumped in at 60,000.
yeah. Yeah. That was an interesting thing too. Like, I remember my stepdad talking to me as a kid and going, hey, do you want a Christmas present this year, or do you want me to put $50 into Netflix stock? And me going and being a kid, stupid kids, said, yeah, I want a Christmas present. You know what I got? A pair of freaking Uggs. Like, worst Christmas exchange ever.
Sounds
a
like
pair
you
of
got
Uggs
scammed.
versus Netflix stock.
And even Netflix, too. People said, Netflix will never work. Blockbuster had the opportunity to buy Netflix. They literally walked up to them and said, buy us, please. And they were like, nah.
And now the only Blockbuster left is in Alaska.
Yep, Netflix is everywhere. Netflix is a verb now.
Exactly.
No one blockbusters anything anymore. We never even said I'm gonna blockbuster it. We just said I'm gonna go rent it. But now Netflix is so powerful it's become a verb, just like Google.
Just like McJob. Because McJob is now a verb too, as defined by Merriam-Webster.
Oh really?
Yes.
I had no clue.
Yes, it's a job that's basically underpaying. And, you can't make a living wage off of it.
Oh, it's an adjective.
Yes. It's a beautiful thing.
That's crazy.
Despite McDonald's protests, it's still going to be added to the dictionary this year.
Wow. Yeah, we've been adding a lot of new words in the dictionary. We need a new We need a new word. Not a new word. It's already in there, but a new definition now for hex. Just right under whatever else is there, or even put it at the top. Greatest asset in the history of humankind.
See, I feel like Merriam-Webster needs to come out with a technology dictionary.
That would be insane.
Because there are a lot of terms that are used throughout the English vernacular that cross with a lot of the technology terms. And because of the amount of detail that you would have to put into each definition and term, I feel like a separate dictionary would be necessary.
Yeah, we definitely need something like that. A definition of crypto stuff or investment stuff in general. Cause
right.
a lot of the
even
stock market terms, that all carries over to crypto.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, even an investment dictionary to break it down for people who have never, come across some of these terms that people are using. obviously bear and bull market are very common terms, but some people have no idea what those two mean.
Yeah.
Like which one's up, which one's down.
Yeah, and why do they choose those animals,
Well, right.
Who knows why? It just is what it is, and
Listen,
we all adapt.
I was a fan of the Harambe Monument. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that was cool.
Like Harambe was the OG.
Yeah. But all right, so where should I start now? I'm thinking.
Let's start from the beginning. Explain to me, how the world of Hex became.
Okay. Yeah, that's where I was going too. So Hex started out and marketed itself just the same way the scams do, with all the bells and whistles of the scam. So a lot of people, that's probably the only reason they think it's a scam. And when I see that, I'm like, okay, the marketing worked. He said he was going to do that because he wanted to take those poor fools away from the scammers. Like, imagine scamming, so people get scammed a lot. Imagine taking those people that got scammed and then scamming them into getting rich. It's literally the opposite of a rug pull, and it's what Richard calls a magic carpet ride. Because sure, it could be a scam, but what if it isn't? What if it just goes up and to the right forever? And that's pretty much what Hex has become really, as a magic carpet ride. Because it started out like it could be a scam, and it marketed itself just like a scam, so that it can attract people that typically are very prone to getting scammed. And it worked. A lot of people who have bought into things like BitConnect, they are in Hex. One of the biggest BitConnect YouTubers from back in the day, he's in Hex. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, it really did work. Because I saw him as a scammer, but not like intentionally scamming people.
Right.
I just saw him as scamming people with a lack of intellect, a lack of like broader knowledge.
He was a part of a dimmer ripe and didn't know it.
Yeah, he got a lot of people into crypto, but he also got a lot of people into BitConnect. And all of those people, including himself, they got destroyed in that. And he had to go like testify with the SEC too, like just because he was on YouTube talking about all this stuff.
Right.
So, yeah, so Hex worked just from a marketing standpoint in the beginning. It got all those people. It told them, hey, instead of buying the coin that you don't know if it's a scam or not, and worrying about when the price jumps and dips, it was like, what if you could just protect yourself from yourself and just lock it up? You're not lending it to anyone like with BitConnect, because a lot of people try to associate Hex with BitConnect just because it marketed itself like a scam. So even though there's no real similarities between Hex and BitConnect, people just go, oh, it's like BitConnect, because they don't really understand the system. And a lot of them, especially the big YouTubers who are in crypto, like they didn't even like do any research at all. They literally they're on their live streams talking to people. Someone mentions, hey, have you heard of Hex? And they'll go, yeah, that thing's a scam. I heard about Richard Hart. He's a scammer, and he's real shady, and he does all this stuff and scammed a lot of people. But the one thing they can never do is prove it. You can't find a single person that got scammed by Richard. Like, not a single one. But somehow he's the biggest scammer ever.
I mean, obviously, he's got to be the biggest scammer. He's telling the truth.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, the one reason why I think that he gets labeled a scammer a lot is because he was, according to him, and I guess some old court cases, he was the original spam king in the 90s. Sending out mass emails just for marketing purposes. But he didn't know, like people wouldn't like that. So, I think he said he ended up paying $500. That was it. So I guess because of that, people just go, "Oh, I don't have to read anymore. That guy's a scammer." and it's pretty funny because I've been watching him for years, and you can't give him money. You could not give him money if you tried. It's like, I dare you, give Richard Hart money. I fuck if you can give him money, like, I'll give you money. Like, that, like, he doesn't want it. He doesn't. There's no. Usually everybody says, "Oh, here's my Ethereum address for my Bitcoin wallet. Donate, blah blah blah." They'll do that as soon as they start up a YouTube channel. They won't even wait till they have like viewers. They'll just immediately like, "Yeah, I'm new. If you want to support, here's my thing." Richard doesn't do that because he doesn't fucking need anybody's money. Richard was rich before crypto even got started. Before it was even a thought. He was like a self-made multimillionaire years ago. He retired in 2003. Like, I wish I could have been like that, but I'm not. I had to retire when I was 31. Like, whoop-de-doo. But he started his own business out of necessity. If I remember correctly, he had like dental. He had like a fucked up tooth that got some accident, and he needed money for the dentist, and he didn't have it, so he became an entrepreneur just to fund that. And I sympathize with that because that's also my situation. And because it's working, I'm like, I'm going to delay this and just keep striving, keep struggling, keep going. Because I was able to get here with that sort of drive. Imagine how far I could go if I still have that drive. I don't want to alleviate that yet. Because then I'll go Super Saiyan and I'll just be insane. I'll go nuts. But, alright, so Hex marketing, it worked. But the marketing itself was like just a small factor. It wasn't really even much marketing because it didn't really do any. He just said, here's the concept, and essentially all his viewers marketed it for him.
Which is insane to think about when you have a grassroots idea like that.
Literally,
and it spreads.
Literally zero marketing was done by Richard. He didn't pay for any advertisement. It was all of us. All the Hexicans who did stuff. They had bus ads in London, taxi ads over there. They've had ads on Premier League football over in Europe. Like, they've done some shit.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've definitely seen the Premier League ads for sure because, like, just watching a lot of football. But, like, just listening to you talk about it is honestly pretty much the reason why I even got interested in it. Because watching your journey through it, and I feel like that's where a lot of people are going to start getting into it. Is by watching a close friend, watching a relative and saying, hey, I see you're doing now what you want to do. What got you to this point? And, it's literally going to be that old commercial where the dad sits his son down, puts his hand on his shoulder and goes, well, son, a long time ago I invested in this thing. It's called Hex. And it got me to where I want to be now.
Yeah.
And now that I'm an older person, I can let you inherit some of this. And it's going to be a weird moment when you realize that generational wealth is no longer going to be physical very soon. Generational wealth is going to be all run off of laptops, computers, and processors that are millions of miles apart.
Yep. And a lot of people are like, oh, they always bring in the doomsday scenario. And it's like, well, what if the grid goes down, then you can't use your crypto? And the only response I have is, if that happens, you can't use your card.
Right.
You're not going to be able to use your bank. The bank is just sitting there with all your money, and you have no way to get there. Their banks are going to lock their doors, and you're not getting in. You're not taking out any cash. If any of that happens, if the internet goes down, the electrical grid goes down, we're both fucked. Whether you're in stocks and bonds and you've got your 401k or your Roth IRA, or me with my crypto. If all that shit happens, we're both fucked.
Yeah, the only people that are still going to be good are the people with physical
But wait. Actually, we're not both fucked. Only they would be fucked. Because there's already the technology there where you can use Bitcoin with radio signals. So if the electrical grid goes down, we can still use radio. Just build a generator. Lots of people have generators. Just grab a generator, hook up a radio transmitter. Boom, you can transmit your transactions.
What the fuck?
Yep.
Uh, so, so you're telling me right now that basically crypto is now more secure as a backup doomsday scenario than a physical bank at this point.
Yep.
That, that right there is mind blown.
Yep.
That right there is mind blown. Like that literally blows my gourd to think about that. Because, most people when they think about Ethereum, internet money, any of like these crypto coins, they think, oh well, all it's gonna take is one shark biting through a goddamn cable in the Atlantic Ocean and it's over for everybody.
Yep.
No, apparently not.
No. I mean, trying to transmit like certain blockchains through radio signals might be. I don't know how like technically. I don't know how it works on a fundamental level, and I don't know if it's faster or slower than the traditional way. But hey, the technology, like I said, the technology is already there. The only thing it can do is improve.
Right. I mean, if it works, it works. I mean, if you're using RFID chips, to read and receive things, I could understand how.
Yeah, that too. Work. And I was like, we don't even need that. Cause we can use radio signals, or just use the cell networks as they are.
Right.
And then transmit the transaction data through like a mesh cell network. That's also plausible.
Right.
And then you can just do near field communication, NFC chips on the phones, and just tap your phone on someone else's phone, both people confirm a transaction, and boom, good to go.
Ah, like the old school Pokemon trades.
Yep. Pretty much.
Like go back to old school Pokemon trades through currency transactions.
Trading crypto on fucking Game Boys, yep.
Damn straight. As long as I got my Game Boy Color, I don't care. Let's go.
Yeah. All right, so where else? I'm going to try to figure out where else I was going. So we started with the beginning that it was marketed like a scam, and it worked. It got all the people who usually get scammed to come into the table and buy Hex.
Yes, now we are on the magic carpet ride ascending into the heavens.
So one thing I want to go over is how it launched. Because it had one of the most interesting launches, because it just copied what worked. And most people don't typically do that. They always go, I want to do my own thing, but still copy other shit. So it basically was like a year-long launch phase, where basically you can buy Hex on the open decentralized market, or you can buy it through what was called the adoption amplifier. And another way was you can get it for free if you owned Bitcoin during on a certain date. So there was a snapshot on the Bitcoin ledger that he did, and if you had any Bitcoin on that day, you can free claim some Hex. You don't have to sell your Bitcoin or anything. You just, because you have it, you get free Hex. And a lot of people also got scammed by other people into thinking that the free claim meant they were giving up their Bitcoin, which would defeat the purpose of calling it a free claim.
Right.
And that was another thing. Like, there's so much misinformation that just goes around, and people just believe it because they want to.
Well, misinformation is always propagated by those without knowledge.
Mm-hmm. But it's not even just that. People want to believe these things. The only reason people get duped by misinformation most of the time is because that's what they want to believe. It fits their mental narrative. Like, this is how I think the world is, and because this information corroborates that, I'm going to believe it, and I'm not even going to fact check it. There's a lot of that going on. Just people who thought that the free claim would take their Bitcoin. It's like all you're doing is signing a message. Like that's it. You're just digitally signing a message. How did you possibly think you were going to get your Bitcoin stolen just from signing it? Like, and people don't understand what that means too. So, with a crypto wallet, it's all cryptography. You have a public key and a private key. How it works is like your private key is a unique sort of serial number that's cryptographically generated based on a certain algorithm. And that number is only for you. Having that number proves that you are you in a encrypted digital world. And we've been using this tech for years. Things like apps like Signal, or iMessage, it uses encryption. It's the same technology. So you have your private key, which then can create a bunch of public keys, and that's like the address that you would get money sent to.
Okay.
So if like I say send me, if I wanted to send you X amount of hex, I would need to know your public key, and because you're the person with that private key, you're able to access whatever funds are attached to that public key. So with signing a message, you're basically just doing that, but without money. You're basically just saying, somebody send me a message, and I'll sign it. And because you sent me that message and I signed it with my wallet, my private key, you know that I control this address.
Basically, I'm a human, not a robot.
You don't have to be human to do that though. It's more like you know that the entity you're interacting with is in control of said wallet address.
Okay.
So I don't know how people didn't, like, who were into crypto, they didn't know that for some reason. They thought they were smart, but Richard showed them that they were actually pretty stupid. So I got some free hacks. Tony got some free hacks, and that's the stakes that are ending around Christmas time.
Right.
They're small stakes. They're nothing. It was like fractions of pennies when we got it, but they're worth a good bit of money now. Like, just like a few dollars here and there. But like, man, I think one's like $50 or $100 or something like that. Maybe a couple hundred, but it was like nothing back then. And I was just like, I'm gonna lock this for 2 years. I'm gonna stake it for 2 years, just to see where it goes. Because with the free claim, you were forced to stake for a minimum of 1 year, and that was like the awesome thing. So a lot of people, they couldn't just get their free hex and then just try and sell it. They were forced to hold on to it, and a lot of them, because of that, they got paid big money. Because for the 1 year launch phase that Hex was, launching, the supply was getting inflated by, I think it was 500 million every day. I cannot remember the exact number, but it was basically like this crazy system where every day there's a bucket of Hex, and every day before 7 p.m. you can put money into the bucket. And depending on your ratio in the bucket, that's how much hex you got. So it was like the system where the more people put money in the bucket, the less hex you actually got. Because you were sharing in the same number of hex.
Right.
And what's funny is, because Richard knew exactly what would happen, he told everybody, do not FOMO in on the adoption amplifier on day one. And FOMO, which stands for fear of missing out. People just like take money and just throw it into something because they think, oh, it's going to pump and I can't miss it. So he says, don't FOMO in day one. And he's like, I know people are going to FOMO in day one. So I'm going to put more hex into the bucket so that all these FOMO tards, as he called them back then, they can at least get more hex, than they would normally get just because they FOMO'd it. But they still FOMO'd way too hard. And the rate of hex that you got per Ethereum, it was so low. I think it was like 30,000-ish hex per Ethereum. And everybody saw that and then as it went down every day, like basically you'd get more hex per Ethereum every day. As it kept doing that, people were like, "Ha, I told you, it's a scam." It launched and immediately rug pulled, and it was just like, no, that's literally what everyone who's paying attention, that's what we expected to happen.
Right.
So I waited. And I waited till it was like, I can't remember what the price was. I think it was I think I was buying at like 1 million hex per ETH. That's when I was buying. And ETH was like $80 back then. Mm-hmm. $80, $100, 120 floating around then. Like it was so cheap back then. But everyone was like, "Oh, it's a scam. Don't buy it," you know. But now look at us. It's near basically the top of the market, but all the coin ranking sites are lying about us. Even one that we used to be on our side was like, we think we have to adjust our numbers now and drop hex back down. And everybody got mad, but I'm just like, whatever. I'll just stop using y'all because I wanted to tell the truth first, and then start lying, just to appease who? I don't know. Who are you trying to appease?
The mainstream market. Who
So
has the majority control still.
So technically, hex is like number 3, number 4, maybe 5 because of the recent dips. But the most popular site, CoinMarketCap, will keep hex perpetually at rank number 201, no matter what the price is. So it's like, and it's not just hex. There's other things on page 3 of CoinMarketCap that don't belong there, but they're there. And hex is the main one because no matter where it moves, it's always going to be the same spot on their ranking site. And there was a glitch where hex was number 3 for like 5 minutes. Richard posted a screenshot and that shit was gone immediately.
Said, we don't want you to know that we accidentally told the truth.
Yep. It was crazy. So during that phase of the hex's launch, it was just every day. New bucket of 500 million hex, I'm pretty sure was a number. And, people just buying into it. So that's mostly where I got. And there was even a cool system where, because it's decentralized, and there was a referral system for the adoption amplifier, you could refer yourself. Huh. So I had 2 wallets, and Richard told us exactly how to do it before Hex launched. He was on live stream, and was like, yeah, if you want to do a self-referral, you could do this, but, whatever. So I'm like, okay, self-referrals aren't against the rules. All right, bet. So I got like, I don't know, I think like 90,000 hex just from self-referrals.
It's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, so every time I would buy in the adoption amplifier with my referral link, my other wallet would just get a good chunk of money. Plus, I would get a bonus too, right, on the wallet that I bought it on, and then the other wallet would get a referral bonus.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, it was and it's crazy looking back on it, like how much that shit's worth now. It's like, damn, like this was all free. Like I didn't have to do anything.
Say free money, give me.
Yeah, so at the end of the launch phase, there was going to be this thing called Big Payday. And this is another thing that no one's done. The other crypto that did a launch phase similar to Hex for the year thing, it was called EOS. It was supposed to be called Economic Operating System. They raised $4 billion in the year that they were doing it. $4 billion. And they have nothing to show for it. Absolutely nothing.
How?
I'm pretty sure the price where it is now is probably the same as it was in 2017. Like last time I checked, it was around the same price. And I'm just like, wow, $4 billion and you've got nothing to show for it. And the problem is like the dude who created it, he's a serial like project starter. He'll start something, launch it, leave it. That's exactly what he did with all his projects. He starts it, launches it, and leaves it. Because he thinks, oh, they shouldn't need me anymore. But like, you built this. Shouldn't you want to see it succeed? Shouldn't you want to still be around to like
That
collaborate with other people on the development, or do you just want to start something and leave it and let other people deal with the problems?
that is what we call a horrible architect.
Yeah,
A gentleman who builds his house on shifting sands.
yeah, it's pretty wild. So here, pull that a little closer to you when you leaning back. Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, there we go.
All right. So but nobody's ever done this thing that we call big payday, and it only happened once, and it's never going to happen again. But there is a similar event coming up soon that you still have the opportunity to get in on. So Big Payday was basically the last day of the launch phase, where if you were staked and if you had your stuff locked up on the date of Big Payday, then you got immediately like a 30% bonus of hex plus like more.
Right.
Like I can't remember exactly like how everything worked out. It was a year ago. It seemed like yesterday, but like all the details on like the exact mechanism were pretty fuzzy to me right now. But basically, you had hex. You got a bunch. If you were staked, you got a bunch more hex on that day. And if you staked just for one day, just for the day of Big Payday, it was a minimum 30% like bonus. So a lot of people got like crazy amounts of money that day. Like my stack doubled that day.
Nice.
Like more than doubled. It was wild and it was great. But then just like a lot of people predicted, even myself included, even though I didn't act on it, I knew it was gonna dip after that. Even though like up to then I was like buying 1 Ethereum worth of hex every day for like a week up to Big Payday, and I was just like, because like at the last week I was just like, man, why wasn't I not like putting more in hex before Big Payday? I could have had my stuff longer. I'd have got more shares for my money. But I was like, yeah, it's whatever. But hex was like a quarter of a cent, half a cent maybe back then. So Big Payday was like historic. It was like one of the first. That was like the first biggest airdrop in history.
That's
Airdrop. It's called free money in crypto. That's basically what it is. You just get free money sent to your wallet. Um, Man, that was a great day. But anyway, Hex dipped after that, just like everyone predicted. And then everyone then again used that opportunity to yell scam.
tragic.
But that was basically the first year, and after that, Hex was completely on its own to do its own thing because the inflation had stopped essentially. And now all the inflation gets paid to all the people who are staking.
Right.
And and the biggest thing about Hex that a lot of people need more to talk more about apparently is the share mechanism. So, do you understand? You know what a CD is at the bank?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So it's like you lock your money up for a certain amount of years or whatever, and then you get interest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that interest all comes from inflation, basically, and it's just whatever the bank makes, basically.
Yeah, it's whatever the bank makes off of their own personal investments with your money, essentially.
Yeah, but here's the thing: that's the scam. They're not even using your money. Your money is a liability to the bank, so they don't use it. What they do actually is go to the government and say, this is how much money we have in our customers' reserves. Give us free money based on this amount. And they get a shit ton of free money from the government based on what they're holding for you. And they get to do what they want with that money. That money that you have is still like in a big pile for them, but it's a liability to them. People typically think that the bank lends your money out. And they might, but they don't really have to because they can just go to the government and get a loan on that. and get free money and then do all their stock market shenanigans, and then they're making billions of dollars, and then they don't pay you anything. You get basically none of that.
Right.
Like even in a CD, like what are you getting, like a couple percent?
If that, you're probably getting about like 1/4%, to be honest.
And that's fucking disgusting. Like it makes me want to like vomit. That's disgusting. So Hex literally works the same way. Richard had the idea. What's the biggest product at the bank? Because everyone wants to copy take over the financial world, the traditional markets. They're like, what's the biggest product at the bank? The CD. There's trillions upon trillions of dollars in both like the U.S. and China and all these major countries locked up in CDs. So he built Hex to just literally work the same way. You put in money, Hex. You lock it up for X amount of time, and the more time you put in, the more interest you get. So here's how the mechanism for Hex works. You take your Hex, and then you lock it up, and you get a certain amount of shares. Basically, you're taking your Hex and converting it into shares. That Hex gets burned up, taken out of circulation, and then it's converted into shares. How many shares you have all depends on literally what day you started staking. Every day, the price of a share goes up in terms of Hex. Not dollars, Hex. So, for numbers' sake, if day one you got 1 Hex per trillion shares, which is how we typically measure them, is by the trillion share, so a T share.
Right.
If you, let's say it was 1 Hex per T share on the first day, it wasn't, but let's just say it was. Then the next day it'll be 2 Hex. The next day it'll be 3 Hex. Next day it'll be 4 Hex. Hex could go up and down in price in terms of dollars, but the share rate is always going to tick up in terms of Hex.
Huh.
Like I remember when it was like a year ago when I was looking at it, I think it was like 5-ish thousand Hex per T share. It's almost at 20,000 now.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it's all about T shares.
So how much is a T share worth, like, as far as, like, from my end as being somebody who's potentially
Right now,
invested?
if you were in terms of dollars, I think a T share is about $3,000 to $3,400. Some floating between there. I can't remember.
Okay.
I think it was, last time I checked, it was like 3,100-ish, 3,140 maybe.
Okay.
So it was there. And it's down. It peaked last I checked about like $9,000.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, because it's all about T shares. The more T shares you have, the more Hex you get. Every day when you're staked, you're accruing Hex. So if you have 1 T share, let's say, every day you'll see the payout numbers. It's typically it averages about 5.8 Hex per T share every day. So you can imagine how much that compounds if you were early and you got in when T shares were super cheap, like when they were 65 cents.
Yeah.
Crazy numbers.
Yeah, that's insane to think about. The growth rate of something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from like 1/4 to what it is now, and then thinking of the T shares, Jesus.
Yeah, so there's 2 real things to pay attention to. Not only the price of Hex, but the price of T shares. And the thing about T shares is, so when you end your stake, because the share rate always ticks up, when you end your stake, it's always going to cost more Hex to get a T share than when you started it, which keeps the whales, the big players with a lot of money, from dominating the market all the time. Because if a Hex share was, or like a T share was the same price no matter what, I, as a whale getting in the beginning, will always be at the top of the market.
Right.
But if, let's say I had 1,000 T shares in the beginning, and I ended my stake after a year, I might, if I restake the same amount of hex, I might only have like 500 T-shares or 100 T-shares, depending on like where the price has gone.
Right.
So it keeps people from having a monopoly on T-shares. So it's like it's whale proof. The only people who are whales are the people that are staked, really. The maximum amount that you can stake for is 5,555 days. We call that a cuatro cinco. Well, some of us do. It's about 15 years. So you know that if you're staking for 15 years, you're dedicated.
Right.
And all these whales that are in Hex, that a lot of people are saying, oh, they're just going to dump on all of us because they've got all the money. They're staked for 15 years. Sure, they've got some liquid shit that they play with. They might stake it maybe a month or two and take interest, sell the interest, restake, because that's what I do, and I know that's what a lot of people do. But a lot of those whales are they're locked millions upon millions of dollars, tens, 50, like hundreds of millions of dollars for 15 years. There's this guy or girl they call him the God Whale. And a lot of people like to pretend, that the God Whale is Richard. But the God Whale has Ethereum that he got at the launch phase of Ethereum. He's got like Genesis coins from Ethereum, like when Ethereum was cents, like 60 cents or something.
Right.
Richard was saying Ethereum was garbage back then. He didn't like Ethereum. He was a Bitcoin maximalist back then. So he was like, that's how you know it's not me. Because that guy has Ethereum, and he's had it for a long time. He's got a lot of Ethereum. I was saying Ethereum was garbage back then, so you know it's not me. He didn't come around to Ethereum until, like, 2018.
Jeez.
Ethereum came out, like, years ago. So, the God Whale, he got it, and he free-claimed his Bitcoin, which was, like, a lot of Bitcoin. Millions. When his stake ended, he unlocked all those millions of dollars and got millions more in interest. He took that shit, staked it all for 15 years. So, like, all the people out there that say, oh, all the whales are just going to dump on us, you don't fucking know what you're talking about. They do not know. And this is all on the blockchain, which is a public ledger. That's the whole ethos of crypto, is that we operate on public ledgers. It might not be a name attached to the address, but we know where the money's going, and if we do enough digging, we can figure out who it belongs to, especially if it's a institution like JP Morgan. We know they've been buying Bitcoin, even though the CEO, Jamie Dimon, was talking about how garbage it was in 2017, and he would fire any of his traders who were caught trading in Bitcoin, even though a couple months later they had a trading desk.
Yeah.
For Bitcoin. And then later on we find out, like a year later, we found out he was buying Bitcoin the day, or not, maybe not the day, but right around when he was publicly saying it was garbage, and he himself caused the dip. September of 2017. I can't remember who came first. It was either China or Jamie Dimon. But China was like, we're banning Bitcoin, and then Jamie Dimon was like, yeah, it's crap. Anyone stupid enough to buy is going to pay for it in the end. And this was at 5,000. They dipped it down to about $2,800, and that's when this dude bought, right after he just told everybody it was garbage.
Well, that's how a lot of politicians work.
Yep. And the reason they can get away with it is because they can obfuscate that stuff.
Yeah.
But because this is crypto, these are public ledgers, we found out that yes, he did buy right after he crashed the market. We know when they do this stuff, but nobody really understands this stuff, so it's like it doesn't make the press like it should.
Yeah, it's very sad that it doesn't make a bigger impact on, the world around us, that people are trying to manipulate the stock market on multiple levels.
Yeah, and it's like they always say crypto is a scam, but and it's for money launderers and terrorists, but all the money laundering goes through HSBC, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley,
Yeah.
all them places, Chase. Most of the money laundering is done with the U.S. dollar. And like, what was his name? I think it was Steve Mnuchin. This dude had the nerve to go on TV on Squawk Box, MSNBC, and say the U.S. dollar is not used for illicit purposes when it was talking about crypto.
The U.S. dollar has funded more cocaine, like exports,
exactly.
than any other country.
I'm like, what about that giant ship full of $1 billion of cocaine owned by Jamie Dimon? What about all the cartel money that they were caught laundering?
In the 70s, 80s, 90s, and currently?
Yes, like, and all they get is a slap on the wrist and a fine, and because they know that the money they get from their fine is going to be like paltry compared to the money they make from doing the crimes.
And this is why the U.S. dollar is literally the easiest to corrupt bill that there has ever been to exist.
That and the Chinese,
Yeah, the yen.
yeah, they're not yuan.
Yuan, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yens are those are our friendly Japanese
go.
neighbors.
There you go, the Japanese neighbors.
All our friendly Nihonjin friends, Tomodachi. But anyway, I digress.
Oh, man.
All right, I'm trying to remember where else I was going because we went through a lot.
Yeah, we've gone through quite
So
the journey
we went through
so
the
far.
history of the launch phase. We went through Big Payday, and that's pretty much like it. We covered T-shares and how they always accrue in value in terms of hex, because that's an important distinction. And a lot of people don't really understand that distinction. They just say, "Oh, if you're telling me it's always going to go up, it has to be a scam."
I know you were getting ready to mention the next similar thing that was going on to Big Payday.
Yes, Big Payday 2.0. So, Ethereum has one Richard's heart. Richard Hart, that's funny. Is one Richard Hart's heart. Hart's not his last name, his real last name. I can't remember what it is, but he just, that's his thing. So, it's just funny. But Ethereum has won his heart when he was a Bitcoin maximalist. And he always said, if Ethereum ever starts to suck, I'll fork Ethereum. And if you're not aware what a fork is, a fork is essentially when you take open source software and then you change it and adapt it for your own purposes. Like every Linux operating system is a fork of something else. Android is a fork of some other Linux operating system that was adopted by Google. So forks happen all the time in open source development. And with crypto, forks are pretty special because it's a ledger, they also fork the ledger. So in the beginning, one of the first major forks was Bitcoin Cash. It was a developmental fork where one side says this is what we should do with the development of Bitcoin, and the other side said no, this is what we should do. One side said, and the other side was like, since we can't cooperate, we're just going to fork Bitcoin and create Bitcoin Cash. So they forked the ledger. So at the date of the forking, if you owned, say you owned one Bitcoin, you would also have one Bitcoin Cash. Just automatically, because now there's two ledgers.
Right.
With, the same address. One has regular Bitcoin, one has the new ledger of Bitcoin. Typically when these things happen, they're worked out to the point where the proper chain wins. But for something like Bitcoin Cash, it's a contentious hard fork. It's literally, we don't agree anymore with the philosophy and the development and the rules of your blockchain, so we're just going to take that and just change the rules and do our own thing. But they tried to take the Bitcoin name. Even when I got in, I thought Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash were the same. But I just thought, it's the Cash version of Bitcoin.
Right.
Didn't know what that meant. I just said, hey, it's the Cash version of Bitcoin. But luckily, I figured out quickly that it wasn't. And I figured out quickly what it was. So with the Ethereum now, Ethereum finally started to suck because the gas fees are atrociously expensive. The transaction fees, because of the decentralized nature, the more users, the more the fees are. So like to do a stake is not that expensive, but way more expensive than what it should be. But to end a stake, especially a long one, it's crazy expensive. I have seen $23,000 transaction quotes on an end stake for some hexagons. It is, yeah, it's insane. So some people just aren't even ending their stakes, which is detrimental to them because the game theory with hex staking is if you say you're going to lock for, let's say, a month, 30 days, if you end your stake earlier than that 30 days, you will accrue early withdrawal penalties. If you early withdraw before you serve 50% of your term, so on the 14th day, you can nuke almost your entire stack of hex. Like it'll all just get penalized, and then those penalties gets distributed to all the people that are staking. So some days the interest rate goes up because a lot of people ended their stake early.
Right.
Or one day, well, actually one time, one of our dear hexagons got hacked, and a hacker early ended all of his stakes. We all got paid the highest we've ever gotten paid, like 20 something, maybe 30 hex per T share that day. But it was all off of the back of one of our dear hexagons. And he's an older gentleman, and he had millions. And if I remember, he was staked for 10 years. So if you're at that age and you're staked that long,
Yeah.
you're in it to win it. So, but also if you don't end your stake on time, like if you're late, you get a 2-week grace period. But if you're late, you start bleeding your stack by like 1% a day, I think it is. And that again also gets distributed amongst the stakers every day.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of people, because of the gas fees, are not ending their stakes because it's just too expensive. The fees outweigh the gain, so it's like there's no point. Some people don't even have the ETH to pay the fees anyway.
Right.
So because of this gas fee dilemma, ETH finally started to suck, and Richard was finally like, all right, I'm going to fork Ethereum now. So now we have this thing coming up called Pulse Chain, which again is doing things no one has ever done ever in the history of crypto, and it is going to be big Payday 2.0. That phase is over to get into big Payday 2.0, but there will be a 3.0 because of this new network. So what I consider a big Payday 2.0 is called the Pulse Chain. There was a phase back in August, I think it was, where you could sacrifice money to make a political statement that you think blockchains are free speech and that they shouldn't be censored, and that because you sacrifice this money, you expect nothing in return except for making that political statement. But you will be rewarded because you did that, you will be now a part of the sacrifice set. And this sacrifice set of addresses, when Pulse Chain launches, will receive a Pulse coins, or it's just called Pulse. You'll receive Pulse based on when you sacrificed and how much you sacrificed. So if you sacrifice within the first 5 days, you got, I think it was a 1.7x bonus on your Pulse that you would have got. And I think Pulse was like 10,000 Pulse per dollar. So 10,000 Pulse per dollar plus the 1.7x bonus. But only for the first 5 days. And after that, the bonus, like, I think take down 5% per day for like the next 2 weeks or so. Because it's only like a 3 week
Right.
thing. But basically, yeah, from sacrificing, you'll receive some pulse. You can still technically sacrifice, but the rate you get is just abysmal. So you're better off just waiting until pulse comes out, because people were still sacrificing late, and Richard was like, "All right, I'm gonna be the benevolent leader, and I'm gonna let those late sacrificers, they're gonna count, but you're still getting ticked down every day." So even though you got late, you're still getting in, but you're getting a worse rate than everybody else who did it on time. So when Pulse launches, you will have the Pulse coin that you were basically being awarded from sacrificing. And also, you could have sacrificed to the Sense Foundation, which is, I cannot remember what it stands for, but it's a health and longevity charity. If you ever heard of Aubrey de Grey, does that name sound familiar?
No, unfortunately.
He's a real smart dude. Let me look up the actual thing for Sense. Figure out what it is stand for, because I can't remember what it stands for. Sense Foundation. Research Foundation works to develop, promote, and ensure widespread access to therapies that cure and prevent the diseases and disabilities of aging by comprehensively repairing the damage that builds up in our bodies over time. So it's basically a charity that's trying to do research to make people live longer. Because one thing that people don't know, hey look, it's Edward James Olmos. That's weird. But a lot of people, what people don't know is that if you cured all like the top diseases, which is heart disease and cancer, if you completely eliminated those, people are only going to live like 3 years longer. He always does this as like a litmus test. It's like, how long do you think people would live if we got rid of those diseases? People usually give out like a wild number, but it's like, no, you're only going to live like about 3 years longer. Because those are symptoms, not the disease. So basically the Sense Foundation, he used to volunteer and do work for them years ago. It's all about health, longevity, and just trying to make people live longer, healthier, better lives. So you were actually able, through Coinbase, to donate to the Sense Foundation for the sacrifice phase. You would get less pulse for your reward, but you would also get a tax write-off because it's you're donating to a 501c3 charity. But you were only able to you can donate anything that Coinbase had on their platform. So whatever random shitcoin Coinbase had on their platform, you could sacrifice for it.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and about $26 million got raised for it.
That's a beautiful outcome.
The guy Aubrey de Grey, he talked to Richard, and he was so like, it was great. He was so grateful. Like
that is truly a beautiful outcome. Like I wish more stories happened like that, where you have a genuine group of people coming together and saying, "Hey, we want to do something nice for you, despite ourselves even."
Yeah. So, yeah, there was a sacrifice phase. So everybody who sacrificed, whether it was straight from their wallets or it was through the Sends, we're all going to get Pulse. But also, we're going to get a copy of everything that we have on the Ethereum network. And this is something no one ever does. Usually when they fork Ethereum, it launches empty. You have things like Avalanche or XDAI or Polygon. They all take Ethereum's code, they modify it for their market. It's typically scaling, more throughput on the network or less fees. It's typically their selling point. But they always launch empty. So Pulse Chain is actually going to launch completely full with everything that's already on Ethereum. We don't know when the snapshot date is. So we don't know if it happened already or if it's still yet to come. But when that happens, let's say you have, so Ethereum, I'm not sure if you're aware, is basically a computer. It's like a world computer. You can build apps on these computers, and these apps are basically your tokens. So Hex is built on Ethereum. Hex is a token on Ethereum. So because Ethereum started to suck, that's why Richard was like, okay, we're going to fork Ethereum now. Because Hex lives on Ethereum. And the Ethereum gas fees are so expensive for us. So when Pulse launches, you'll have, let's say you have 1,000 Hex. You'll also have, when Pulse launches, 1,000 Pulse Hex, or P Hex, as we call it. And that's never been done before. Because typically cryptocurrencies, they have a fixed supply, a lot of them, because their selling point is like scarcity. And they have a fixed supply, or certain algorithms that adjust their supply depending on market conditions. But nobody has ever really done this before. So for something like USDC, which is a stable coin backed by a company called Circle Group.
Right.
We don't know what they're going to do when Pulse comes out. So they could completely turn off their side of the Pulse network to where USDC is not usable there. Or they could bridge their stuff to Pulse and issue new coins on the Pulse network. They could support it if they wanted to. But it's never been done before. And another big thing that also has never been done before is a result of the copying of coins, and that's liquidity provision. So one of the biggest questions I had when I heard about the Pulse and the copying of coins was like, okay, will the Pulse version of the coin reach parity in price with the Ethereum version? And I was always like, could it? And how fast could it happen? And, like, why would it happen? But then Richard mentioned something recently. So there's this thing we do in crypto where it's called liquidity providing. So if you want to trade something, let's say it's Ethereum and USDC, there needs to be a liquidity pair. So there needs to be a pool of money that has Ethereum in it and an equal value of USDC in it. So that if I come into the system, I can deposit Ethereum into the pool and then withdraw USDC or vice versa. With Pulse Chain, however, there's going to be what we're going to do essentially is be able to take our Ethereum version of our asset. So let's say we have Ethereum EHEX, Ethereum Hex, EHEX. We can then bridge it into Pulse Chain. So take it and then just send it to Pulse Chain so that on Ethereum chain we'll no longer have any hex, but on the Pulse chain we'll have both EHEX and PHEX. And we'll both be able to use the PHEX and our EHEX in an environment with super low gas fees. They are absurdly low right now. I'm using the Pulse chain testnet and the fees are dumb low. Astronomically low.
That's insane to think about.
So on Pulse Chain, you'll now have EHEX and PHEX. But you'll have 1,000 EHEX and 1,000 PHEX. Most people will be like that. So then they can go to the liquidity providing platform, yet to be named, because Pulse Swap has already been taken by somebody. Screw those guys. You can take the 1,000 EHEX and 1,000 PHEX and then pair them together for liquidity. So that, of course, the EHEX and the PHEX can reach price parity just pretty much off the get-go, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody who has them is going to just be like, well, I'm going to, there's going to be a bot too that does some arbitrage stuff. But essentially, people will be trading their EHEX and their PHEX together, which will allow them to reach price parity.
That's pretty cool.
So literally doubling your investment just for free. But I think because of that, P-Hex has the potential to be way more expensive than E-Hex because everyone's going to be wanting to buy P-Hex because it's in an environment with low fees.
Right.
So that's Big Payday 2.0, is everybody not only getting their pulse that they sacrificed for, but they're also getting a copy of all of their Ethereum tokens on Pulse Chain that they can then provide liquidity to. And then a thing that we do in crypto is yield farming, where if you provide liquidity between a certain pairing, you'll get liquidity tokens. And then in those liquidity tokens, you can then deposit into another platform, and then you'll get interest just off of those liquidity tokens.
Wow.
And not only that, but you're getting interest off the liquidity tokens, but you're still getting a portion of the fees from the pairing. So providing liquidity, typically you get a share in the fees. So if I want to jump in the system and buy $100 worth of something, it's typically like 0.3% gets split up between all the liquidity providers.
That's pretty cool.
So imagine like 100,000 people all buying into the same pairing every day. And everybody who's providing liquidity to that pairing, they're all getting the fees on top of that.
Yeah.
But then you can take those liquidity tokens and deposit them into a yield farming platform where you can probably get a way higher percentage on your yield on top of already getting a percentage of the fees.
That's pretty cool.
So it's going to be like the biggest yield farming experiment that's ever been done in the history of crypto.
That'll be very, very
It's going to be the biggest event in the history of finance. But Pulse Swap, which will be renamed eventually to something else when Richard figures it out, they're also doing a sacrifice phase. It'll be before the end of the year, he says, so it's coming up soon. So so when Pulse Swap, or whatever it's going to be called, comes out, we'll be able to get that. I'm guessing, they're also going to have a token for that, which is why they're doing a sacrifice. So, or maybe they're going to give us Pulse. I don't know. It's either going to give us their own token for Pulse Swap, or they're going to give us Pulse. I don't know.
That'll be
But it's another sacrifice phase.
That'll be very intriguing to see how that goes.
It's going to be Big Payday 3.0. And I would say there won't be any more, but I thought Big Payday was it. And then Pulse Chain gets announced, and now we're waiting for Big Payday 2.0. I'm expecting to continue to live not at work anymore because of Pulse Chain.
Yeah, let's touch on that for a moment. Like, how freeing has it been for you as an individual to be like, hey, F it, I'm retired now?
It was great, and I don't even consider myself to be retired. It's more of a soft retirement, because it's like, yeah, I'm quitting my 9 to 5, but I'm still doing stuff.
Well, when I say retired, I mean...
I know what you mean, but I'm just saying that...
working for other people.
I'm just saying that for clarification's sake. It has been... like euphoric, orgasmically freeing. Like the day I decided like I don't need to be at this job anymore, and I went to the chef and was like, yo, putting in my 2 weeks, who do I talk to? And he looked at me and he goes, are you gonna do this to me? And in my head I'm like, look at what these motherfuckers have been doing to me, and I'm just like, yes. Try not to go, like, fuck you, motherfucker. Like, y'all did all this shit, and you want to ask me that question?
Right.
So I'm just like, yes, I am. I have to. And then, he puts it in, and then, like, the next day, the big boss man, who I've been working with for years at that place, I learned so much from him. I respect him so much. He's the only person I've ever called chef since Chef Jeff and Dave. He came to me the next day because he had just came back after leaving. When the new company took over, he left, started his own restaurant. And from what I hear, the university asked him to come back, and he said, I'm not going to do it unless I can run the whole thing. And they just said, yep, and he's campus chef. He came to me like the next day and was like, "What can I do to keep you?" And I was like, "Nothing." It's like, "There's nothing you could do, chef. I'm sorry, but I gotta do it."
That 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 had to be such a liberating moment to
Yeah,
know
like
that.
he tried to negotiate with me. Like I'm like, yo, I respect you and all. Like you my homie, you my nigga, but
To
I
know
got to
that the ball
go.
was in your court for that very moment to say, you know what, I'm done.
Hmm.
I'll take my time and I'll go do what I enjoy now.
Yeah, I was
And that
fucking going crazy. I was dancing and shit every day. I'm like, oh, I'm quitting this job, and everybody looking at me like, they was all mad because they gonna miss me. I held that shit down. I did the damn thing. I was always there to do the job I didn't want to do, but I was just over it, man.
you know what, like I've said to you in private and off the mic, like congratulations on surviving long enough to live your own dream. Because
Hmm.
not a lot of people get to this point where they have the financial freedom to do what they want to do.
And that's why I'm doing this now because the bunch of Hexicans they quit their jobs to go promote Hex, and they're doing this U.S. tour. Shout out to freedomtv.info because I wanted to say the day that I had that first meetup was the greatest day ever, but then when I went to New York and I hung out with them again and other Hexicans, that was like the greatest day ever because like they really embody that like financial freedom thing. Like everybody, they all quit their jobs and they're all, and it's not just Americans. Like there's Germans, like a bunch of Germans are on the tour. They all hopped on, and not everybody from the tour like was there originally. Some of them they just kind of met the people in their city and decided, fuck it, I'm in. I'm coming with y'all.
And see, that's an organic love that grassroots organizations can bring.
Hmm.
And that's why, not to curtail it back towards like the FGC and things like that, but that's why I want to bring that joy to other people because I feel like, having an outlet, no matter what the outlet is, to be able to portray it and to show it to other people and to show your passion and your, how do you say, your passion and your knowledge for something. I feel like that is the greatest joy that you can ever bring to somebody else.
Hmm.
It is, sharing of the knowledge, being able to say, hey, I know you over there, you have this ability. Can we come together to make this thing even better?
Hmm.
Like, I've seen so many people from so many different walks of life stumble on paths very similar to this. And to watch you succeed has definitely made an impact on the person that I am. So, needless to say, with an air of reverence and jealousy, shall I say, I will be following in your footsteps because, yeah, it's about time that we all experience this free world.
Hmm. And it's not just for you either, too. Like
It's for everybody.
you've got a kid. You know what I mean? Like he's
And,
gonna outlive you.
and that's what I said about dynasties, man.
Hmm.
Like, dynasties, you can't raise life for yourself. You
Yep.
have to build generational wealth, and generational wealth is going to be on the internet.
Yep. And that's how it is with Hex because a lot of people they always say, "Oh, I wish I would have bought Bitcoin when it was $1 or $5 or whatever." But in reality, it didn't matter what price they bought at because they would have sold at $20. If they bought at $1 and they sold at 20, they would have been like, "Oh, I'm a genius." But meanwhile, it peaked at about $69,000. So I always say it doesn't matter where the price goes. There's a good chance you're going to sell way earlier than you want to. Imagine being able to stop yourself from selling Bitcoin at $1 or $5. Because there's so many Twitter posts of people that's like, oh, I sold my Bitcoins at $8 and whatever. Now it's at 11. And it's just like, wow, looking back, it's like those guys were fucking stupid. Like, they thought they were the genius Wolf of Wall Street traders. Like, oh man, I got in, I got out. But meanwhile, they got wrecked.
Yeah.
They made profits, but they got absolutely wrecked. But with the potential profits that they lost. Like, I'm talking millions, hundreds of millions of dollars some people lost because they got out too early. And then people always, and right now, people, every time I talk to somebody about crypto, the first thing that comes out of their fucking mouth is this thing called Shiba. Shiba Inu token.
Yes.
It is the most dog shit of dog shit that's ever existed. It's just a meme dog coin whose only purpose for existing is to be better than Dogecoin. But it's on Ethereum. So it's not like it's its own thing. You know what I mean?
Right. And I mean,
it's just a hype coin with a high coin count. So people think they're ballers, like, oh, I got 20 billion Shiba Inu, and it's like $100, you know. Like this guy at work, he was like, yeah, I got like 114,000 Shiba, and it's like $8. But every time it's like, my cousin, even him, I posted a picture of this weed I was buying at Cookies in Denver. And I had my Coinbase card in the picture, and I'm like, yeah, buying weed with crypto. My cousin messages me and was like, oh, yeah, you buying that? You're into crypto. Have you ever heard of Shiba? I'm like, no, I'm into Hex. I sent him like 3 different Hex links. You think he said anything?
no.
Left me on red. So I'm like, all right, bet. Same thing with all these other people. It's like, oh, have you heard of this? You ever heard of that? And I'm like, no. But I know something. Yeah, you like, you know me. You know what I'm into. And I say, yeah, but I'm into this thing. And you're just like, still, I think I know better than you. Even though I'm gonna tell you you know better than me, but because I came up with this idea, I think I know better than you.
And that's where I think a lot of people's thought process is, because they feel like if they think of it themselves, it's a free thought, no matter how implanted in their head it really is.
Yeah, but they don't realize that they're being psychologically manipulated by scammers. It's like, sure, Shiba Inu has made people a lot of money, and it has gone to a price I didn't think it would go to. But everybody who thinks it's going to a penny are fucking delusional.
I never would have thought that it would have made it to a penny. Like, Dogecoin alone kind of confused me with the way that it jumped over the last year.
Yeah, that was weird too. And typically doggy coins are a bad sign for the market when they're pumping. And there's a lot of dog coins. There's so many. Like Elon Musk, he has a Shiba Inu dog now called Floki. So now there's a crypto called Floki. And it's everywhere now. It starts on Ethereum, and then someone builds it on Binance Smart Chain or Avalanche or Solana or any of these other new platforms. They just take the same concept and build it somewhere else. And it's all meant to be hype on a name.
Right. It's just copy and paste. But eventually, you find out which ones are mom and pop shops and which ones are the big fish floating in the sea.
Mm-hmm. And which ones are the Nigerian scammers or the Indians?
Yeah, which ones are the princes asking you for your lottery ticket money?
Yeah. Just send me the seed money and I'll send you their other 100 million.
I'll send you 1 billion bit tokens.
Or I'll send you some Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, so we covered a lot. I don't know where else I was going to go.
I don't know.
Because I could go forever, man.
Yeah, I know. Like, I mean, you want to break this up into like a 2-part podcast? We definitely can.
Yeah, we could do that. I'll review this one, figure out where we left off, what we could have talked about, what we missed.
Definitely.
We can, come back and reiterate some stuff.
For sure, and get a lot of people more interested in like this world that's coming up.
Yeah, and on the next one, which will be soon, hopefully, we'll do the free hex giveaway.
Oh yes. We can be cyberpunks in the new future. You know, after the updates and once it worked.
Yeah. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
It definitely was a very intriguing and enlightening conversation. I have enjoyed this time.
Yeah, I was definitely going for like the Joe Rogan feel, like just chilling, talking, but still trying to give out that information.
I'm thoroughly loving the way that this podcast is coming together. Hopefully, you know, with the commentary things and things that we'll be doing in the future, we can definitely be able to work this out and make it smoother as we go along and progress into our next phases.
Yeah, and hopefully by then I'll get better as a podcast host. I still haven't come up with a name for this yet, but I have a bunch of like idea names.
Yeah. Maybe by then we'll have your own Jamie too.
Yeah, maybe by then, yep. But for now, it's all automated. I gotta reset that camera every like 30 minutes.
It's all groovy doovy.
Yep. But all right, it was good. It was fun. But that's it. I'm hungry as fuck. I'm gonna eat some food.
Yeah, episode 2 of Lost in fucking Translation.
Yep. But all right, peace out.